As DJs, we all have opinions on wedding planners and coordinators. I know I certainly do. And I have a lot of complaints and grievances about several that I've worked with. It seems like most of the weddings I've done in the last several years have some kind of wedding planner or coordinator or day of coordinator involved. Sometimes there's surprise coordinator. You don't even know there's a coordinator until you show up at the event and they introduce themselves to you. You're like, where did you come from? Who did you coordinate with? It certainly wasn't me. I've had coordinators who like to do things like delegate jobs that they could easily do, like release tables as they sit and do nothing. So I'm releasing tables and they're enjoying their meal and they're going to leave in an hour, which is super bizarre. And then you get the rock stars. And I got one last Monday. And I want to tell the story because I think it's important to talk about things when they go well. Yeah, they say that if you do something right, somebody will tell a friend. If you do something wrong, somebody will tell all of their friends. So let's be fair here and let's give credit where credit is due to a great wedding coordinator that I had the pleasure of working with on Monday. My first thought is, Monday, why do we need a wedding coordinator for a Monday? It seems like overkill. A lot of times as DJs, we can do this ourselves with timelines. We don't need this. And my first thought is, we definitely don't need this. It's a Monday wedding. It's like 60 people. Who cares? Why do we need a wedding coordinator? But it became obvious to me, especially day of, that the coordinator was absolutely necessary because there was so much going on in this venue that had several different breakout rooms and several different spaces with so many vendors, more vendors than I've seen in an event before, that a coordinator was absolutely necessary. But I had a very unique situation, and I'll give you the Reader's Digest of it. I talked about it in the gig log video that I posted last week, but basically what happened was they had hired my friend Rick to DJ their wedding like a year ago and paid him in full. Rick passed away in March. I was at Rick's funeral with another really good mutual friend, and he was telling me that his nephew had hired Rick to do his wedding this summer, and it was on a Monday. At the time, I was not in the position to contribute to the funeral fund, so I'm thinking, hey, how about I just handle your nephew's wedding for him? They've already paid in full, and that way they don't have to go through any kind of thing with the family to get a refund. The family didn't need that hassle, and quite frankly, neither did the nephew. Let me step in and take care of this. So I called the nephew, explained what I wanted to do. He said, okay, cool. And then about a week later, I get a call or a text from the nephew saying, hey, the wedding coordinator wants to know when you're sending a contract. And I'm like, what? We're not doing a contract. I'm doing this pro bono for you. Let me talk to your wedding coordinator. Why is there a wedding coordinator for a Monday? So I called her and I explained to her the situation. Oh my gosh, that's so nice of you. I totally understand. I get it now, and I understand why there's no contract. Thank you. And then things kept popping up with emails and text messages from the coordinator. Not a lot, but things. And I was asked about attending like rehearsals or meetings and things, and I look, because I'm doing this pro bono, I'd really rather just handle this via text messages and phone and whatever, because the more time and money I put into this, the more time and money I lose. So if we could just handle it this other way, I'd really appreciate it. Totally understand. Totally understand. Very cool in that regard. Then we get the day of, and it's absolutely insane, and we'll get to that. I actually made a list of things that I really liked about working with this wedding coordinator. Number one, no ego. She was just cool. Sometimes you work with these wedding coordinators who want to be large and in charge, and they want to dominate you. And sometimes they scream everything they say. Have you ever worked with anyone like that? I can't stand that. I could hear you at a fifth of the volume you're speaking to me at. Take your voice down and be kind to me. I'm a vendor, have some respect. She was totally cool, soft-spoken, understanding, and on it. She coordinated with all vendors. And you might say, yeah, big deal. She coordinated with you and a photographer and catering. No. They had so many vendors at this wedding. It was unique because it was a Monday, but it was also unique because I'd never seen this many vendors at a wedding. They had things I never heard of before, like an oxygen bar. Oh, you breathe this stuff through like the tubes that you use in the hospital when you need oxygen. You put this in your nose and you plug it into this thing, and there's all these different flavors you can breathe. It's supposed to relax you. They brought this in from Chicago. They had an electric violinist flown in from Dallas to do a performance for Prelude and Cocktail. This was a rock and roll violinist. I'd never seen anything like this. There was a video game truck that showed up. What's that? I'd never seen it before. It was a big trailer. You go inside and play games. There's big screens on the outside. Amazing. And it was like, I don't know, under 100 people at this event, you know? And they had all this stuff. Plus ice sculptures and special dessert caterers on top of cake and a pretzel bar and photo booth and video and photography. And I don't know, think of it. It was there. She coordinated with everybody. She knew everything that was going on, what time it was happening, when they were arriving, if they were late, if they were early, what the parking situation was. She was just on it. It was really nice that somebody else was taking care of that. It was necessary to have somebody there just managing everything, and she did it with grace, and she did it cool, and she did it calm, and she was pleasant. So I really appreciated that. Open communications between vendors when needed. Not when it wasn't needed, but when it was needed. There was a situation where the electric violinist wanted to use a PA system or rent a PA system. Of course, I had to explain that too. Rent a separate system. That's back in. I have to charge for it. But we worked it out where they were able to plug into one of my Evolve 30Ms. It worked out fine, and it saved everybody money. It saved everybody time. She put that together. She started that thread, and I didn't have to worry about dealing with somebody that I'd never met before. I was dealing with the coordinator. It was really cool that she worked it out with us. She was understanding to my situation with the whole pro bono thing and what was going on, and that it was a Monday. I mean, super cool about all of it. Anything that happened, she was very understanding, genuinely understanding. I don't think she was faking it. I don't think she was saying things that I wanted to hear. I think that she really had empathy. And I really liked that. That was nice. To feel like you had that advocate there who understood if something was weird or something was different. She got it. She was understanding. She trusted the vendors. Like, she trusted that I could do my job. She wasn't trying to micromanage me or what I did or how I did it. But she did a very detailed timeline that included dances and songs and all of those things, just in case a DJ who she'd never met before, who hadn't contracted with the client, dropped the ball. So she could just feed them cues. Well, she didn't have to do that with me, obviously. And her timeline was pretty good. I was able to look at it and pull a lot of things from it to make the timeline that I used, which wasn't hers. I couldn't read hers. The print was too small. So I made my own. I shared it with them. I made a few changes that I had cleared with the client, and they were positive changes. They were changes that made things flow better, and she was totally cool with that. Yeah, let's do that. There were changes that happened on the fly that she was cool with. We discussed a few things. We were on this time schedule. There was so much going on and so many things that needed to happen. We were running ahead of schedule, and they were supposed to start the family dances at, I don't know, let's say 2:30. But everything was running so nice. And I looked over at the newlyweds and noticed that they had just sat down and they were finally enjoying some of the specialty desserts that they had brought in. And I went to them and I said, hey, look, why don't you guys just enjoy your desserts for a while? We are doing great on time, but it looks like you could use some time. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we'd just like to sit down and relax for a minute and have some desserts. Went to the wedding coordinator and said, hey, look, I'm going to give them some time. I'll check back in on them in 20 minutes, but for now, let's let them chill out and enjoy their desserts. Oh, that's a really good call. I was looking at that too. There's plenty of time. Everything's going fine. Let's just do that. But she was totally cool with it. Open to input. I mean, hey, I think we should try this way. Hey, I think it's a good idea. Hey, I think we should try this that way. It's a little different than what we have on the schedule, but I think it might work out. Yeah, great idea. She was very open to it all. So, trusted us professionally and was able to work on the fly and assess situations that we assess, pretty well. She's usually thinking the same thing I was thinking with everything that I kind of threw out there. I really appreciated that. She was on top of everybody's thing. Everyone. It didn't matter. If the video game truck was running 15 minutes late, she knew it. If they weren't upstairs for a dance that they specifically wanted at a specific time, she knew why they weren't up there. And she knew that we should probably just skip that because something else was going on that took priority over that. And she read the room where it was like, you know what? I think we're good. I don't think we need to go any longer. I think we're good. I think we can wrap it. She was helpful without being intrusive. And that goes a long way for me. I like helpful. I hate intrusive. Trust me, I'm a professional. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm open to criticism. I'm open to ideas. But please don't try to micromanage me. And I'll give you an example of being helpful without being intrusive. When it was time to do the bridal party entrance, and everybody had a separate song, I had to get all organized for that. I had notes in ways I was going to introduce them. She said, I'm going to get the wedding party together. I said, well, thank you. So she gets everyone in the same room, but she doesn't line them up because she knew that I already had that all set from my notes. I was able to introduce myself and get a rapport with them and line them up and give them the instructions that I wanted to give them, but she was there to help. She got them together and she was there to kind of babysit them as they came out, but she let me do my job. She wasn't trying to do my job for me. She was just trying to be helpful. And man, you know what? Help is nice, especially for a grand entrance. So I really appreciated that. I have nothing negative to say about my experience with this wedding coordinator on Monday. A few days after the event, I was telling my friend John about all of this stuff. And he said, you know what you ought to do? You ought to send her a thank you text and tell her that it was a pleasure working with her and you'd love to work with her again in the future. I said, yeah, I think I will. So I did. I sent her a text just to say thank you. And John's thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe if you do this, you can work with her again if she liked working with you. Because I did some things at this wedding that I'd never done before. And they had never seen before. And they liked them. But, that wasn't my motive for sending the text for repeat business. I genuinely wanted to thank her for just an overall pleasant experience and for making my life a lot easier. But, yeah. Let's give credit where credit is due. We can always complain about wedding planners and coordinators when they screw up or they do things that annoy us because, we pretty much have this most of the time. And I don't believe they're always as necessary as people say they are all the time. But it was necessary this time. You needed somebody to keep track of all of these vendors and all of these things that were happening. And she did a great job. So that's my video. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Practice and enjoy.